I have two crazy passions in my life. One is the love of creativity and everything artistic, and my other is the love of this natural world. Now, my journey as an artist has been somewhat circuitous. I started out as a performance artist, doing strange, trippy performance art things in art galleries. Went on to become a singer, then a visual artist, and then I created and performed in a touring children's show, and then I even spent a decade as a stilt walker at festivals all across North America. But through all those things, I've always managed to weave my love of the natural world into the work that I've done. The touring children's show was actually a zany romp through the geological prehistory of BC, complete with a stilt-walking Tyrannosaurus Rex that came on stage at the end of the show and delighted and terrified all the children. It was very hard to get the audience back under control after that moment, but we managed. So I've had a lot of fun doing a lot of very creative things, but always in the back of my mind, I was wondering, is what I do relevant? Does it matter? Does it make a difference? Well, when I moved into this neighborhood 13 years ago, I was challenged with a new question, which is, could an artist act as a catalyst for transformation within a community? Now, I have to confess, when I first moved into this neighborhood, it was because it was the only place I could afford. In my mind, my ideal scenario is that I could live in a neighborhood where I was completely surrounded by art and culture, and seeing people out on the streets and coffee shops. But where I ended up living here, on my street, what I saw were kind of boring beige houses on quiet, bland residential streets, and then the whole neighborhood was sliced up by these arterial roads leading to other places. And my perception was that people didn't go outside much and didn't seem to know each other. But that's okay. At our first Halloween, I eagerly decorated our house with some props left over from previous performance art exhibits, and bought tons of candy for the kids, and only a dozen showed up. What were we doing here? Well, Gandhi said, "Be the change you want to see in the world." Could I create the world that I wanted to live in here in this neighborhood? Well, I decided to try, and very soon I was delighted by the secret treasures that I found in this community. Now, the first secret treasure was Renfrew Ravine, and here it is on the map. It is a remnant woodland right in the middle of the city, and Still Creek flows through it. Now, Still Creek is amazing because it is the last stream to flow free and above ground in the Vancouver area. Every other stream didn't survive the pave everything mentality of early city builders. They put everything in pipes, but somehow here it is, a hidden jewel in the city, completely surrounded by buildings. And the map on the far left side is how far Still Creek used to flow. So it actually flowed from Boundary Road all the way through the Collingwood neighborhood. It's all in pipes there now. And then it comes out in Renfrew Ravine, but that all used to be stream. And then it continues down into the Industrial Road and back out to Burnaby. So I was thrilled that that ravine existed, but it had problems. I attended ravine cleanups, and I was distressed by the amount of garbage that we were hauling out of the ravine. It was a gorgeous place, so why were these dedicated volunteers pulling out one or sometimes even two dumpsters filled to overflowing with garbage? In my mind, I could imagine the ravine full of art and music and magic, and not this scene that I was seeing in front of me of someplace scary, full of abandoned shopping carts, bags of used disposable diapers, and even a complete bathroom set with broken toilet, broken sink, matching shattered tiles. But how could I get to there from here, my vision of this beautiful place with what I saw? Could I inspire the community to love the ravine enough to change their behavior? Well, the second thing that I discovered that was the secret treasure was actually the people themselves, you people here. I was totally delighted. I started meeting some neighbors, especially the people at Collingwood Neighbourhood House who believe in supporting the good ideas of neighbors. And before I knew it, I was part of an arts group. And we were creating festivals and parades along the streets. And there we were, taking over the streets from the cars that had chopped up our neighborhood. And neighbors were thrilled with how powerful it felt to take over the street, even for the 30 minutes of a parade, and be able to say hi to your neighbor, sometimes for the first time, across culture and language barriers. Well, now that we were getting to know each other, it was time to start to think and act creatively about how we could reframe the ravine to a place of sanctuary and beauty for nature and for us. So what we did is we created an entrance to the ravine, which was a native plant garden filled with a pebble mosaic pathway and a beautiful bench. But the neighbors made it better than I could have possibly imagined in my own mind. One family donated 2 carloads of sliced semi-precious stones meant for doing lapidary work, jewelry, to become the feature centerpiece of our pebble mosaic pathway, something I could never have gotten access to just as a private artist. Another neighbor who was a woodworker created the bench, and then another neighbor who's an Aboriginal carver carved the salmon backrest on the bench. So I actually overheard people going past that park once we created it, and I heard them saying, "Hey, look at the fish in that mosaic. There's a stream nearby here, isn't there somewhere? I wonder if it still has fish in it." So I knew we were on the right track because people were thinking about the ravine. So we also moved down a couple blocks and built the Renfrew Ravine labyrinth with river boulders to offer people a walking meditation with the sound of the birds in the trees and the wind in the trees. But I still had in my mind that maybe we could also fill the ravine with the magic and the music and the creativity of arts that are happening in real time. So 11 years ago, we went on to create the first Renfrew Ravine Moon Festival. Now, all cultures celebrate harvest, and since more people in our neighborhood actually speak Chinese at home than speak English, it made sense to link the Moon Festival to the full moon that's associated with the Asian Mid-Autumn celebration. So our first Moon Festival was in September, and it started at Slocan Park with a harvest fair where neighbors brought in and were able to show off the best of their garden. I think that's my favorite entry ever. And we had live music and food. And then as the sun set, everyone lit their lanterns, and we followed the giant moon lantern across Slocan Park, along the pathway, along the edge of Renfrew Ravine, all the way to Renfrew Park. And then when we got to Renfrew Park, there the ravine and the stream were illuminated by hundreds and hundreds of beautiful handmade lanterns and animated by musicians and performers celebrating creativity and the ravine. For the first time, there we were, neighbors were walking together outside at nighttime next to the once scary ravine with their families, all speaking different languages, yet we were enjoying the ravine and the stream together. It was an amazing moment when we realized we could do this as a community. Now, the Moon Festival has gone on to become the signature event of the community. Getting a volunteer's t-shirt has become a status symbol. There's people in this room who know that at the local high school. And we actually have to limit the number of youth volunteers because we get overwhelmed if we have more than 200 of them. And in my own unscientific poll, at Halloween, we started running out of candy. And we had to wait for our daughter to get home from trick-or-treating so we could negotiate about redistributing. So it really seemed like art and creativity was bringing the community to light and revealing the talents that were here, that had been hidden. So we built on the success of the Moon Festival to offer many community and art opportunities about the stream. So we had twilight crow bike rides along Still Creek. We had spirit fish, prayers for the water events, and Reflecting Still Creek, which was a series of things that were to do with the history, the art, and music by and about the stream. And everywhere, we had images of fish. Fish on flags, salmon lanterns, fish out of water performers, fish on boats, fish on fences, fish on mosaics, as a gesture of hope that someday the stream would be healthy enough for fish, and maybe even salmon, like the old-timers remembered from the 1930s. Now, coupled with the art was the stewardship. Now that more people cared about the ravine, we noticed that there was less new garbage being dumped into the ravine, and we were able to start working on older layers of garbage. And eventually, we were starting to run out of garbage for the kids to pick up, so, although that never totally ends. And so we were starting to remove invasive species and plant native plants and trees to continue to increase the health of the ravine. And this slide here is interesting because those kids are all grown up now, and those trees are 10 to 15 feet tall now, too, which is very exciting. Yeah. And, of course, there's also the bureaucracy. We worked with the leadership students, we worked with community groups, and we worked with various environmental organizations, and we attended endless meetings with planners, with politicians, with city staff, with community members, with students, keeping the health of the ravine and the stream on the agenda, part of the plan, part of the vision. And at each Moon Festival, more people grew to care and love the ravine and wanted to help. And then last November it happened. I heard it was happening and I just had to see it. It was 2012. It was a sunny, cool, sunny autumn day, and I ran down the hill past those lovely beige houses. I crossed Grandview Highway that was funneling all these cars on and off the freeway. I ran past the big box stores, down into the light industrial area where Still Creek is just a ditch. And there they were. The salmon had returned. For the first time in probably 80 years, the chum salmon were spawning in the Vancouver portion of Still Creek. I thought it was a vision that maybe I was working for my children or their children. I didn't really think I'd see it in my lifetime, but there they were. Now, of course, it wasn't just us making pretty salmon lanterns. Many levels of government worked together to build fish ladders, to daylight, which is to bring back to the light of day portions of Still Creek that had been buried in streams for more than 50, or been buried in pipes over 50 years. And also they worked with our stewardship group and many other stewardship groups to release salmon fry into the downstream portions of Still Creek. But that kind of investment, huge investment in infrastructure, does not happen without hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of volunteers and staff working over years and years and years to change attitudes and values. And then that infrastructure is also useless if citizens, when they're cleaning out their shed, unwittingly, or just think because it's easy, they just pour the toxins into the lane and it goes into the storm sewers and then flows straight into the stream and kills the fish. But people can and do change when they have an emotional connection, when they care, when they are inspired. So we have found that inspiration is a better motivator of change than guilt. And the salmon responded. Even though the experts said, I don't think fish are ever going to swim through that much pipe, those salmon swam through hundreds and hundreds of meters of dark pipe underneath Boundary Road and the freeway to emerge in Vancouver and spawn, where we still have so much work to do. Now our challenge is to continue the work. We are inspired and we're celebrating our success, but we're also inspired to envision our whole community as a healthy and vibrant ecosystem that is better for the fish and better for us. We have been daylighting the streams and taking care of the streams, and we have been daylighting and bringing to the light of day the talents and creativity of the community. Each nourishes the other. Now, the salmon return in 2012 was news. We'd actually like it to become a commonplace occurrence and not a once-in-a-lifetime miracle. But that means we really have to examine ourselves and what kind of choices we make and the effect we have on our ecosystem, our stream, and the water that we ourselves need to survive. Now, art has the ability to transcend barriers that divide us. It can reach into the essence of who we are and who we can be. Now, the salmon have given us a conditional vote of confidence. Let's thank them by continuing to improve not only how we treat the stream, but our community and each other. And let's be creative and joyful about it. Thank you.